What's up out there? Path of Exile 2 is now into early access, beta, whatever we're looking at, whatever they're calling it these days. But anyway, it's out. We had to wait. It was supposed to be out at 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. yesterday, my time, but it ended up being more like 4 o'clock. I was kind of casually just waiting on it. I didn't get too excited with it. I'd check in every so often, try to log in, and I kind of followed a little bit on Twitter or X or whatever and saw that they had database issues. And yeah, you had to queue up a stream to get the cosmetics off of it and all that. So I just kind of looked at the stream. If they were just sitting there doing nothing, I was like, all right, whatever. I was watching TV or something. But we did finally get in about 4 o'clock. And I spent about 45 minutes with it before I just quit and said, you know what? I got to stop and just collect my thoughts. This does not feel like Path of Exile. If I had to describe it, it would be kind of like an uncanny valley, slightly off angle kind of experience. There's a lot of things that are the same. You look at it, you look at the UI, you've got your health bubble over here and your mana bubble over here. You've got your potions on this side. You've got your skills and abilities and everything on the right side. So this all looks like Path of Exile. You look at the skill tree or the passive tree, and there's just, ungodly number of points on here. Like, this all looks fairly similar. You look at your skills, they all have a lot of the same things. However, the game just feels off in some way. It doesn't feel like it plays correct. Now, one thing, I made the mistake starting Melee, which is like the most glacially slow moving thing you could possibly have. However, there's other weird things that just are just off, and I don't understand why they did that. For instance, if you go into the passive tree and you put a point on the passive tree, I believe in PoE 1, you'd go up here and click accept change, because, okay, I put a point in, I want to go up here. For some reason, they put it on the bottom of the screen, so 1,700 hours of PoE 1 says go up here and click that. But then my brain's like, no, the dialogue's down here. I don't know why they did that, and I don't know what sense that made. Why change where the dialogue is? Because it's PoE 2, it needs to be on the bottom. I think that's stupid. It needs to go back up where PoE 1 is. Like, I understand if they change the control scheme to be different for this. I get all that. But like, a dialogue box being on the bottom of the screen instead of the top of the screen seems bizarre. I don't understand that. Forget the names on the stash tabs. I named them how they are in the original game because I'm guessing we probably don't have cluster jewels or abyssal or something like that. I just, for the purposes of getting going, I went ahead and just named everything the way it is in my in the stash tabs in PoE 1. So these are subject to change, but I wanted to get like my gear set up and all that, get all these the way I normally like them to see them. But there's other things that are just fundamentally different. So you come in here, the currency tab has much, much less currency on here. The essence tab is much smaller. The divination tab just doesn't even come in. I understand not having the delve tab because they don't have those mechanics in here yet, but I would have expected div cards to be in the game. Apparently they're not. I didn't know that. I didn't know they weren't there. I don't know if Vol gems are in here or not. I don't know if we have transfigured gems. Probably not. But I wanted to put, like I said, I just wanted to match all this stuff up. But looking at the rest of this stuff, there's things that are so much different. Like, you've got, the skill, the support. I'd like to see these tabs in PoE 1 on the gem stash tab. I think that's really good. This is something I definitely, I go down here and type support to see the difference, and you can actually just toggle it and see which one's which. So I think that's pretty cool. There's a lot of good changes. There's a lot of good quality of life stuff, but there's a lot of things that are just, why did they do that? Now, I probably should have said this a lot sooner. There are two settings that I would strongly recommend changing. And that, number one, the create a portal. I was wandering around waiting for portal scrolls to drop and nothing dropped. Come to find out, and maybe they've patched it and changed it, but the create portal was not even bound. It was just flat out not set. So I set it to the B button. I think this one was set to something else, and I had to change whatever that other thing was to something different. But I was like, why are they not even binding the portal button? That seems dumb. Like, stuff like that should just be done automatically. And the other thing that's really stupid, if you want to compare this mace to this mace or whatever, For some reason, they bound it to the shift key in this game, but the control key in the other game. So all your muscle memory is gone. So I would change this compare item descriptions to control. I don't think it conflicts with anything because this toggle skill set's some other thing. And I don't know, whatever. I was like, I'm just changing it. I did try WASD, hated it. The No Rest for the Wicked game came out. It had WASD. I hated that. I hate having to hold W and D to go up at an angle or whatever. Like, it feels weird. That feels more like it should be on a D-pad on a controller than on a keyboard. So I went back to mouse move. On mouse move, you may notice that, and it doesn't really, I don't think it does it on Melee so much, but on mouse move, I like to hold down left click and then walk up and right click. So I just keep holding the left click button. What I noticed, I started on Melee on a warrior and I rolled over to a witch. But what I noticed was that I was holding down left click, and when I would right click, the guy would keep moving forward or backward. It was kind of odd. I didn't quite get what was going on. It felt really floaty and like I was sliding on glass or something. But I think it's a fundamental change to the control scheme. In PoE 1, if you could hold down the left click key, or you could hold left click down, and when you right clicked, you would physically stop, do the spell or skill or whatever it was, and then you would start moving again. In this one, you kind of just stay floating. So what I had to learn to do is just walk up, stop, right click, and then I could resume moving again. In the warrior side of things, he moves god-awful slow, agonizingly slow. I'm playing this today and I don't notice as much of a problem with it, probably because I'm getting used to the pace of the game and everything. But that was kind of off-putting. I don't see any Quicksilver flasks. I know we've got charms now, but I haven't found anything even remotely close that does that. So I'm trying to get out of AoEs and stuff, but I just still sit there moving, or I stop. I don't know. I want to get out of the AoE, but my character moves so slow I can't. Like this witch thing, you just have to kind of keep moving a little bit more. Like, I know the thing in PoE 1 is to stay moving and not stop, and that's like one of the big pieces of advice that people give, but like this feels different. This feels like you just kind of have to wait for the monster to do what it's going to do and then go hit behind. A very different pacing thing, and it feels weird because you'll get into a big pack of monsters like these things are coming out, and you're supposed to keep moving like, I don't know, it's different. So that was kind of off-putting. Looking at, like, if you look at this skill, I'm using what? Earthquake. I keep wanting to say Earth Shatter. I'm using Earthquake. You got to wait 4 seconds for that thing to pop off. So you get the one hit. In PoE 1, that's more of an instant shot. It hits, you may have a slight delay, but this thing actually has a 4-second delay. Jagged Ground duration is 4 seconds, and then it goes off. So it's kind of another thing that's kind of off-putting is that in PoE 1, things move so fast and there's so many monsters around you. And in this game, there's a lot of monsters around you, but you have to wait 4 full seconds for that to go off. And if you're moving around in a boss fight or something, you're trying to get a shot in, that doesn't really do that well. I guess you can kind of do what I'm doing now and just kind of move around, but it just doesn't feel all that great. Melee was a rough start. I did switch over to Witch, and that was much smoother. She moves faster. She just plays so much better. And like I keep pointing to the enemy I was just looking at, I'd like to just simply move. I guess the other thing that I changed is I moved this to move only like we do in PoE 1. I made some changes just to make this feel more like PoE 1, and it feels so much better. I don't know, it just, like I said, this was very off-putting and things just didn't quite feel right. But like that AoE went off, I needed to just keep moving rather than go into this 3-second wind-up to drop the skill off. I'm hoping we can speed some of this stuff up because this doesn't feel all that great right now. It feels much better. The first 45 minutes, like I said earlier, the first 45 minutes that I was playing, this did not feel good at all. This feels better, but I better understand the pacing of this currently. I'm going to try to get this thing to level up before we go over to Witch, because I want to show where that dialogue is. It's kind of, it's not that important, but it is kind of stupid, I think. But I do want to show something else on the passive tree. If you haven't noticed it, there's some really nice quality of life on the passive tree that I think they really need to bring into PoE 1. Like, we could pre-smash the ground and I guess get up into here. It's just a different thing. So you have unlimited portals. That's a slight change from PoE 1. If we go into the passive skill tree, if you hold control, now this isn't giving me anything. Oh, because I'm not pressing control. Helps to press the control key. So there are no skills that I'm using that stun build up. I need to figure out how to pull this, respec this point. But if you hold the control key down, it will actually compare it and show what skills this will impact and what benefits you're going to get. So if I go to melee damage, it's going to say my mace strike, impact, and initial strike are going up by a factor. So if I come over here and hold this down, it's going to show those all going up in another factor. I need to respec that point. But like you click this, I'm covering the dialogue up, but the apply points is down here. In PoE 1, it's up there, and I don't get why that's a thing, but whatever. Let's see here. Oh, cosmetics. I think this cosmetic screen is dramatically worse than the PoE one. I don't like this at all. I think this sucks. I like the PoE 1 version. I also think it's weird. We're supposed to get all our cosmetics transitioned over, but a lot of these are just straight up unavailable. I don't understand that. I thought they would transfer over, but okay, whatever. But I don't like this screen for applying my cosmetics, and the N key doesn't pull up. There used to be another dialogue. That doesn't pull up. The G key for this is okay, but I feel like you used to be able to mouse over, on PoE 1, you used to be able to mouse over your skill and a whole bunch of details would show up. And if you went into the character screen, you could actually select that and get the same details, like it's going to do bleed or something like that. I find it very limiting. Like if I click on this, if I take this gem out, it doesn't change the actual explanation. I don't see any way of getting the detail that we used to get in PoE 1. I also like the fact that you can hold the Alt key down and then move your mouse anywhere you want, so you can point at things and see the little what's underlined and everything, and everything. You can read this. Like as a content creator, I can hold Alt and point at this and say this piece right here. However, it doesn't put the two together. I put fast forward on here because I was thinking it would reduce that 4-second jagged ground to where it would do the explosion 30% faster, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So I don't know what this fast forward did. Doesn't appear to do anything. It just doesn't feel great. I do have lacerate. And I did want to try that over here. So, okay. We can actually mouse over this and see that Earthquake is supported by it. At least they didn't change that. But I don't think I want that on here. This is a skill gem. So it's kind of a weird mixture of PoE 1 and PoE 2. Or PoE 2 is like a weird mixture of this and maybe that, whatever that game I said earlier. No Rest for the Wicked or whatever. Let's go back out and look at my Witch build. The Witch build is far better. I say that, but now that I'm playing this after sleeping and thinking on this and playing the Witch build for a while, the melee doesn't feel bad. I think you just need to learn how to play the game the way it's played. I also think it's weird that I logged out and I didn't go, like in PoE 1, when you log out, you start back in town. For some reason, I'm just right here. This is where I logged out. It leaves my portals up. I don't know if they intend to leave that way or not, but it just, that feels kind of weird. I don't know. I'm still processing all of this and trying to understand why they've made some of the changes that they have, because some of it feels arbitrary, some of it feels really good, some of it's baffling, like why did they do that? And that would be the arbitrary stuff that I don't fully understand. But you'll notice that like when I cast this, I stay kind of moving a little bit. That was weird at first. I didn't care for that all that much. The minions that I get just automatically cast out every so often. I have no control over them. They just die off and come back. I like that. I think I like that. I think that's kind of cool, but It is definitely different. Yeah, the witch build feels much better. I'm using, what am I using down here? Unearth. It sounds loud for some reason. I'm using Contagion with Unearth on this, and that seems to be pretty good. Damage seems really low, and I know I was watching like Connor Converse and some of these guys talk about how broken some of the skills and support gems and stuff were. I kind of think this game is made a lot more difficult, and they probably gave us generous attribute skill or generous skills with a lot of extra percent damage and stuff like that because this game is a lot more difficult, and I think you're going to have to understand the difficulty and all that kind of stuff a lot more than PoE 1. And I think we're all used to PoE 1 so much more that it just kind of, I think that's where a lot of the problems are. That's definitely where some of my issues are. It's just that the game feels so much different. Boss fights are a lot more slow, a lot more technical, or a lot slower and a lot more technical. I do like the boss fights. I think they are very nice and mechanical. If you sit down, here's a massive, well, this shouldn't be massive revelation, but here's a massive, what I will call just kind of, I think this is very telling. Let me get this fight done here. Let me turn this volume up. Let's just soak in this atmosphere for a minute. We're in a cemetery. It's kind of dark. It's this gothic style stuff. Things are more gory. The music is the ambience and everything with all this. This is what Diablo 4 is not. This is what Diablo fans wanted. I know some Diablo fans like Diablo 4. I'm not one of them. I think that game is boring. I think it's garbage. I don't like the builder spender aspect of it. This is what I would have loved to have seen Diablo 4 be like. It's got the right atmosphere. It's got the right graphics. It's or the not graphics, but it's got the right visual appearance. Diablo 4, I think they spent far too much time. Like this reminds me of the not necessarily the catacombs, but like the church in Diablo 1. Like the vibe and everything. This passes the Diablo vibe check. The Diablo 2, or I think 2, when we had the Necromancer, we had the bone skills and all that. This has got the bone skill. Like, this just feels so much more like Diablo than Diablo does these days. It's amazing. So hopefully some of the Diablo people play this and think, gee, I wish we could make our game like this, and then do make it like this. Because this is what Diablo should be. I'll get off that rant because I'll be on it forever if I don't, but I like the creepy look, like this thing with all the tentacles and stuff. There's some creatures with like big mouths full of teeth and stuff. That reminded me a lot of the later stages of Diablo 2. More so Diablo 2, I think, than Diablo 1. But like the vibe, this just passes that vibe check. Anyway, I think with some slight changes, slight tweaks, like setting the portal scroll and all that stuff, or portal's key and everything, I think that makes this feel so much better. Don't start melee. I think you'll be disappointed with that. If you do, it's not bad. It's just very different. And I didn't like it at first, but now that I've had time with like a witch or whatever, this feels a lot better. The game is played flawless. I mean, once they got this thing rolling, it has played phenomenally. I have no complaints about how it plays. I now need to learn all the systems that are on here, like we've got the disenchanting and all that stuff. I got to figure out how all that works, how the currency works. Like the currency does the same things as what PoE 1 did, but the way you obtain currency and the way some of it applies and does things is different. So there's a lot of learning curve here. There's a lot of things that are going to be a lot different. It was more the vibe and the feel, the initial feel of it, the way you move, the speed of combat and everything. that was what really took me out of this initially, and why I had to just kind of stop and do something else. You'll see that I was still moving there. I let off my keys for a while. It just kept moving, and that's not something PoE 1 does. And I hate to keep comparing this back, but this is PoE 2, so it is going to be a comparison. I also don't like when you first press the U key to load the map, you've got to wait. In PoE 1, that just happens. You can double tap U, and it goes away. That little thing down here in the bottom, I wish we could toggle that off in both games. I hate seeing that, and you have to double tap the U key to get rid of it. The first time you press the U key, it takes a while to get rid of. Subsequent presses, it goes away, but it's annoying in this game. Like, really annoying in this game in the ways that it wasn't annoying in PoE 1. So, just a lot of little stupid things, you know. I don't know. There's some baffling decisions. The controls, I'm coming to enjoy the controls. I understand them now. The dodge roll is fine. It's not a movement skill. It's a get away from that mechanic skill, which I'm fine with. I am slowly coming to terms with that. I'm slowly coming to terms with like I said, the way I click and move, hold down the left click and you still slightly move while you're casting things. That's definitely not something that happens in PoE 1. It's just stuff like that. So if you're on the fence about this, or if you don't think that this is doing all that much for you, I would say give it some time, come back to it later. Maybe try rebinding some of the keys that I've mentioned here, because they're kind of annoying not being bound. That looks like a boss fight. But you might try and just work with it a little bit. Take a break from it, come back. But anyway, my thoughts are very positive. I don't think this is the greatest game ever made. I don't hate this game. I'm somewhere in the middle right now, just because I'm trying to get used to all the changes that they've thrown at us and try to figure out how the game plays and try to erase 1,700 hours of PoE 1 to get to here. I very much don't think that this is a 1 versus 2 thing. I don't think I'm going to have any issues going between the two, because these feel so drastically different that it feels like a whole different developer worked on it. So I don't think I have any issues swapping back and forth between the two. But that's where I get into that weird uncanny valley thing, because I see that this does a lot of the same things that PoE 1 does. They're just slightly different, and it's skewed differently. But anyway, and I'm not going to belabor this video anymore. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to continue playing it for sure. It's just a matter of getting used to it. That's going to do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.